I can ask her.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Congregation Kol Ami for our Sabbath service. It is a delight to have you all here in the room and also to have everyone who is out there on the internet joining us. You may notice that there are new changes yet again. The supernal circle of light has moved to my main desk. And as a result, we have new and different lighting that hopefully will be a little more liberating for me and orienting what I have to say. So as long as I'm adequately lit, I think that's fantastic. So yes, as long as I don't have the ghostly look that I have when I do Taste of Torah. In any case, Shabbat Shalom. This is Shabbat Shirah, which literally translates out as the Sabbath of Song. And it's a specific reference to the fact that in this Torah portion, we're going to be focusing on the Song of the Sea, Shirat Hayam, the song that Moses sings, his victory song with Miriam as we cross over onto the other side. Ironically, we don't have Lindsay with us tonight, at least not yet. She is for the purposes of going to visit her relatives. So she's not here in the room with us. And she's now online. So it will be a little different Shabbat Shirah than might happen on face-to-face, but we'll work with it. I have a great sermon about some music. So anyway, what we need to get to first of all is what's happening to us as a community. So this is our Tov Uvracha, our good and blessing. We, of course, do this in a multi-layered way. I invite the people in the room to tell me what good and blessing is happening. I'm also inviting the people online. Again, it doesn't have to be a big deal. And in fact, I'll begin with my good and blessing because it's not a big deal. I had the most fantastic chicken and green chili stuffed savory pastry with a mushroom sauce over it. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. It will probably never be available again, but for those 15 minutes that I was eating that, it was like a foretaste of the world to come. So that was my good and blessing for this day. Who here in the room has one to share with us? Becky.
My laptop almost crashed today, but our desktop people were able to fix it, so I was very, very, very happy to not have to leave my work laptop.
Disaster averted.
Yes.
Sometimes that's the greatest thing ever. Anybody else? Harold?
Adrian and I feel very blessed to have gotten our first Wuhan virus vaccine in Denton County, which was very, very organized.
I'm sure it must be a great relief to be able to have that for yourself and for your wife. And hopefully you'll get the second one in a timely fashion. And it feels like the pace has picked up. So we're delighted that you're doing that. Okay, good. So things are soaring. So anybody else have a good and blessing to share? TJ. Very good. Very good. Yes. We're spending too much time away from family. We'll start with Casey and go on to Greg.
Samson figured out how to make chocolate pudding that fits all of our freaky deaky dietary needs.
That sounds impressive.
A real victory in our house.
Right.
Chocolate pudding exists again.
So like the guy weaving between the laser lights in the museum when he's going to steal, he's been able to dodge and weave every one of the possible dietary pratfalls that come with that. That's fantastic. Samson, we're very impressed with you. Now Samson has to offer one.
Casey baked challah today by herself while not being able to stand well.
Oh, very good.
Very impressive that she was able to do that.
On a scooter.
Bordering on the heroic. That's awesome. Yeah. Good for you. And of course, we love your challah, so that's wonderful. And then Greg.
Mine is my oldest niece got accepted into Baylor University.
Fantastic. Mazel tov to her. Give her our best. And hopefully she'll have something close to a normal experience in college come fall. So those are all wonderful things. Anything online? No, nothing online. So with that, I'm just going to call attention to those things going on here that are a blessing to us. First of all, I want to thank all of our in-person minion, Joanne Barnes and Samson and Casey and Melissa and Mark and TJ and Harold and Greg and of course Bob and Becky, and we have a couple of guests too. So we're thrilled. Carol's here with us and we're delighted to see her. So we also have 2 birthdays this week. We have Claire Spiegel and we also have Carly Wisniewski. So we want to wish them a happy birthday. And we have 2 anniversaries. We have George and Katrina Gittins, and we also have Star and Merrill Leva. So we want to wish them a happy anniversary. So with that, it's time to get this Shabbat started. So let's go ahead and kindle Shabbat lights. This week, it's our privilege to have Melissa Trapani come on up and kindle the lights of Shabbat for us. We're going to be on page 1 in our prayer book, page 1.
In the beginning, when the Spirit of God hovered over the darkness, God's first creation was light. As we kindle these Shabbat lights, we attest to the majesty of God's work and rejoice in its beauty. Light is a symbol of divinity and creative goodness. It's the outward sign of that inner spark which God has granted each of us. In hope and with love, we now welcome Shabbat with light. Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu l'na'ali b'nei Shabbat. Praise are you, Adonai, whose presence fills the world, who hallows us with mitzvah and inspires us to kindle Shabbat lights.
May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen. Yashikov, my dear. Thank you. Let's reorient things. I got it. You should see something of me with that. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue with our Kabbalat Shabbat. But before I even get to that, let me just point out, is it not quite in the right position?
Yeah, you're fine. You just keep going.
Yeah, okay. You'll notice that I'm wearing a face mask with a little bit of Yiddish on it. It's actually a response that was a mask created in response to Charlottesville a few years ago. And you'll remember there that a bunch of anti-Semites came out and said, Jews will not replace us. Well, this is Yiddish for, we'll outlive you all. All right. And so this is just a hint at the fact that starting February 11th, I'm going to be teaching. We're going to be reading, sharing a book called Born to Kvetch, a history of Judaism and all of Yiddish and all of its moods. It should be very entertaining. It's a wonderful book. Information about the class will be coming out this week, but I wanted to give you a little preview. All right. So with that, I'm going to lower my face mask here. We're going to go to page 2, and we're going to start out with Lechuna Ranena. And I'm going to invite Lindsay to lead us in that, and I will take over with Psalm 29, and then we'll pick up from there. So Lindsay, could you lead us in Lechuna Ranena?
Of course, Rabbi. Lehunera nera, lehunera nera, lehunera nera l'Adonai, lehunera nera, lehunera nera, lehunera nera l'Adonai. Naria naria letzuri shenu, kadma fana letoda. Naria naria letzuri shenu, bismi naria lo, lehunera
Nauria, Nauria, Letzur Yishenu, Bezimrot Nauria lo, Lechune Ranne na, Lechune Ranne na, Lechune Ranne na, Ladonai, Lechune Ranne na, Lechune Ranne na, Lechune Ranne na, Ladonai. We're going to turn to page 3 with Psalm 96, and we're going to pick up in the middle of the page. Yismechu Hashemayim v'targel haaretz v'yiram hayam u'malo'o. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. Let the sea and all within it thunder. The fields and everything in them exult. Then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and the peoples faithfully. Psalm 97. Adonai reigns, let the land exult and the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds surround God. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of God's throne. God's lightning illumines the world, and light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. O you who are righteous, rejoice in Adonai, and acclaim God's holy name. We're going to turn now to page 7 for Lecha Dodi on the final stanza. It's customary for those who are able to physically rise, but whether you're rising in body or heart, we invite you to orient yourself towards the door as we welcome the Sabbath in our midst. So we begin with Lecha Dodi, my dear.
Can you hear that? I'm just checking because you said that you weren't able to hear it before. Is this okay? Testing, testing, testing. Just barely. Okay.
Living in the land of Safed where he was under
1 second, calling in the tech support.
And it was there that he envisioned.
Oh, we're getting good signal from here.
Should I just unplug the Scarlett? This is so strange. This has never happened before.
It's not that they can't hear the piano, they can't hear me.
Oh.
Yeah. Testing, 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 testing. No? Should I? Well.
There's not much else I can do.
Should I unplug it?
All right. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamo v'zachor b'dibur echad. Hishmianu el haminuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. L'shemu tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechuva nelcha ki hi mekor habracha. Merosh mekedem nisucha. Sof ma'aseh v'machshavatila. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitorari, hitorari, Kiva ore kumi ori. Uri, Uri, Shida Beri, Kivod Adonai, Alayik Nigla. Please rise. Lechadodi Likrat Kalai, Yalalai, 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 Pene Shabbat, Nekabela. Lechadodi Likrat Kalai, Yalalai, 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 Pene Shabbat. Nekabela boi v'shalom ateret bala gam v'simcha uzola tochemune am sigula boi chala Lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela lecha dodi likrat kalai yalalai 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please be seated. Come. Arise, shine, awaken, awaken. Give forth a song. The glory of Adonai is revealed to you. So come in peace, you crown of your husband, with rejoicing and with joy. To those who are faithful, this treasured people. Come, O Sabbath, come, O bride. Psalm 92, page 8. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat, tov lahadot l'Adonai. A psalm, a song for Shabbat. It is good to give thanks to Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night, with a harp, with voice and lyre in unison. And the righteous, they shall bloom like a palm. They shall thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. We continue now the transition to the evening service with the Hatzi Kaddish.
All right, it seems to me like...
All right, we're bringing Lindsay on for the Hatzi Kaddish.
Okay, it seems to me like the Zoom people were able to hear me, but not the people in the congregation. So checking again, can you hear me? Yes, no, maybe so.
Still not working?
Well, everybody else can hear it, we just can't.
We can't hear it. Well, then let's continue on by ourselves. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shmei Rabba v'yamad yifrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei
v'ha'echon u'yamechon u'v'hagen b'chol beit Yisrael ba'ala u'bizman karim v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorah le'alam u'lal me'al maya yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpa'al v'yiromam v'yitalel shmei kedusha brehu leila min kol birchata ve'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata namiran be'alma v'imru amen.
They're hearing her, right?
I think they can. Hang on one second, let me hear it, Chuck. Can you? This doesn't work when it's
Okay, so we'll continue on.
Okay, I am saying something. Say something,
Please
I'm
rise.
giving up on you. Let's see. Hello, can you hear me?
Adonai Hamvorah, Baruch Adonai Hamvorah, Le'olam Va'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom our praise is due. Praise be Adonai, to whom our praise is due, now and forever. We continue now with Ma'ariv Aravim, marking the end of the day. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim, b'chochma poteach sha'arim, uvitunam meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umsader et hakokavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kerotzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, umavir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uven layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. And let's add a little love to the mix. Unending is your love for your people, the house of Israel, Torah, mitzvot, laws, and precepts you have taught us. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life and the length of our days, and then your love shall never depart from our hearts. Blessed is Adonai, who loves the people Israel. We continue now with the Shema, the watchword of our people's faith. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. And if able, join me in the V'ahavta on page 13. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha Hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, b'shiftecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'aderech, u'shochbecha u'kumecha, u'kshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotefot bein einecha, Uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskaru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kerushim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher chotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lechem lelohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. Emet ve'emunah. True and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome, good and beautiful is this eternal teaching. This truth we hold to be forever certain. Adonai is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, shield of our salvation. Adonai, you redeemed us from the land of Egypt. You set us free from the house of bondage. For this, the people who felt your love sang songs of praise to you, living God, high and exalted, mighty and awesome, who humbles the proud and raises the lowly, who frees the captive and redeems the oppressed, who is the answer to all who cry out. All praise to God Most High, the source of blessing. Like Moses and Israel, we sing this song of rejoicing, the Micha Mocha. Yai dai 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 yada dai ba bim bum. Yai dai 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 yada dai ba bim bum. Yai dai 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 yada dai ba bim bum. Yai dai dai yada dai ba bim bum. Mi chamocha bailim Adonai. Mi kamocha neda bakodesh norati lot o sefele norati lot O sefele. Yadai, 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 ba bim bam. Yadai, 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 ba bim bam. Yadai, 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 ba bim bam. Yadai, 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 ba bim bam. And after what has no doubt been another exhausting week, we hope to go home to lie down to Shabbat in peace and to rise up in peace. Hashkivenu. Grant that we lie down in peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up, O sovereign, tomorrow to a life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war, famine, and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. O guard our coming and our going, that always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose sukkah of peace is spread over us, over all your people, Israel, and over Jerusalem. Which brings us to the next part of our service, the tefillah, or the standing prayer. I invite you all to rise in body or spirit, according to your need. Adonai sefakai tikachu fiya gita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher haskei avot inot, u'mevi gula livnei b'neihem, l'man shemo v'yahva, melech ozer u'moshiach magin, Baruch atah Adonai, magin Avraham v'ezrat Sarah, atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atarav lehoshia, Mechakel chayim v'chesed, Mechaye hakol v'rachamim rabim. So make no flim v'rofei holim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar. Michamocha ba'al givura, umidom elav, melech memid umechayeh, umat Yeshua, ne'eman tal chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh, v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim v'chol yom yachalu hasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. You are holy, your name is holy, and all who strive for holiness daily sing your praise. Praised are you, the holy God. Please be seated, everybody. And we're going to pick up with our blessing and song for Shabbat. We're going to do Yismechu v'Malachu Techa, and as is the Kol Ami style, we will do it responsively. So, middle of page 21, for those who have the prayer book. Yismechu v'Malachu Techa, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'Korei Oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'Malachu Techa, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'Korei Oneg Shabbat. Am Mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shavi Shabbat. Kulam Yispeu v'yitatu mitu v'chashabat. Yismehu v'malachutecha shomre 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 Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat. Yismehu v'malachutecha shomre 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 Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat. Uvashvi ratzita bo viki dashto Shabbat chemdat ya'amin oto karata Shabbat. Yismehu v'malachutecha shomre 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 Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat. Yismehu v'malachutecha shomre 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 Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat. Zecher lema'aseh v'reshit Shabbat. Zecher lema'aseh v'reshit Shabbat. Yismehu v'malachutecha shomre 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 Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat. Yismehu v'malachutecha shomre 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 Shabbat v'kore oneg Shabbat. Great say, a prayer for acceptance. Adonai, our God, show favor towards your people and lovingly receive our prayers. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable to you, for you alone do we hold in reverence. Modim, and we give thanks to you, Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation for all generations. And we thank you and we recite your praises. Let all the living affirm you and praise your name as the God of our salvation and help. Praised are you, Adonai. Goodness is your name. All praises to you. Let me take a sip of water before we launch into Shalom Rav. And so we conclude this rubric of prayer, as we always do, with the prayer for peace, Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam, tasim le'olam. Now we're going to take a few moments for our own silent prayers and meditations. And when we're ready, we'll join back in with another prayer for peace. Oseh Shalom. Ose shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. May the one who makes peace above make peace descend on all of us, and Israel, and let us say Amen. Oh, say Shalom bimroma, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Amen. So I'm sure you've all had this experience. One of your correspondents on Facebook poses one of those lists of questions that allows you to reflect and exchange. It's kind of a little entertainment, a distraction from some of the things we worry about on a day-to-day basis. And Connie Kruger posted just this morning a list of things regarding high school. Did you know your future husband or wife in high school? No. Who was your favorite teacher in high school? Oh, Mr. Trebilcock. Would you go back? Hell no. Never, right? And then there came the one that just stumped me, and that was, what was your favorite band in high school? And I have to admit, that's an impossible thing for me. So look I bridged the 60s and 70s. My brother brought the Beatles into my home, and I played their albums over and over again from about the age of 5 right into high school. So I was deeply embedded in the Beatles. On the other hand, I'm pretty sure my first record that I bought with my own money was Led Zeppelin II. All right. So I couldn't decide between Led Zeppelin and the Beatles. And, we often find ourselves stuck between two hard places. Take our Torah portion for this week, Bishalach. Bishalach, some clever person noticed that if you count 3 words in, word 1, word 2, word 3 into the Torah portion, the third word is Pharaoh. But if you go to the end of the Torah portion and you count 3 words backwards, last word, second to last word, third to last word, and the word is Amalek. All right? So this portion is bracketed by 2 enemies of the ancient people Israel, old and new, Pharaoh on one hand, Amalek on the other. In between, our people are pretty well led by Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, with frequent assists from God. And yet, despite all of that, we stumble again and again. We refuse to see the obvious. We refuse to take good advice. We reject the wisdom of our elders and our leaders. It's almost as if the people going out of Egypt is one gigantic, multi-footed, multi-souled teenager. Think about it. Let's see. We are crying constantly on the Egyptian side of the sea, bickering like babies, as it were. Smart kids, though, in what may be the first example of sarcasm recorded in human literature, the people say to Moses, "What? Weren't there enough graves in Egypt that you had to bring us out here to die?" Right? The most Jewish voice you can hear in the entire book of Exodus. Sarcasm. Teenagers. We pass through the waters. We emerge on the other side. It feels like the birth of a nation. Great, right? But once God has safely delivered us, what do? We whine and cry some more. God can't seem to do enough. God chooses the routes for us, guides us with a pillar of cloud by day, a pillar of fire by night. He provides food from the sky, water from the dry earth. God is for our ancestors their AAA service and their Stuckies all rolled into one. In fact, it takes facing a battle against the Amalekites to bring this people around, to pull themselves up, to make them take charge of their own destiny. We've all been there. We've all done that. We've all made this journey, teenagers. We depend on God for everything initially, yet we think we know better how things should be run. Finally, after engineering miracle after miracle, Moses figures out that if you do the same thing over and over again, you're only going to get the same unsatisfactory result. And so this final moment, when confronted by the danger of the Amalekites, he decides to mix things up a little bit. He needs the people to find a path from dependence to independence. So Moses changes the rules of how he's dealt with things up to now. When the savage tribe of Amalekites attacks the refugee column of the Israelites at the oasis of Rephidim, Moses mixes it up entirely. Without asking God, without pushing God, without wheedling God or pleading with God to intervene, without even consulting God, Moses puts a guy named Joshua in charge of defense. Who's Joshua? He's never even been mentioned up to this moment in the entire Torah, and suddenly he's in charge of everything now. He's Moses' chosen general. He's not one of God's chosen leaders. He's not Moses, Aaron, or Miriam. But Moses seems to have confidence in him. And he uses his own judgment to become himself a leader of judgment. And then what does Moses do? He steps back. He climbs up on the top of a hill to watch the battle unfold. And he also holds up his staff during all of this. Now, he held up his staff too on the other side of the shore of the sea. Moses then held up his staff and prayed to God to intervene. This time, Moses holds up his staff, but he says nothing. It's more like a flag. It's more like a rallying point. If God wants to help, great. But for the first time, the people are required to take the initiative by themselves. For the first time, both leadership and fight comes from the people. For the first time, they have some skin in the game. And rather than complain, what happens? They step up. They accept their adult responsibility. They fight and they win. We, the Israelite people, the Jewish people, grow up, finally. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. Of course, in between infancy and adulthood, there is always music. Music, if you recall, is the soundtrack of the drama of adolescence. Our music helps us in so many ways. For me, as a teenager, it gave expression to my angst, to my lust, to my longing, to my hopes, to my desires, to my imagination. And music lyrics gave me values also, especially in my era. The music on the radio was shot through with all kinds of messages about what was good and what was important. Come on, people now. Smile on your brother. Everyone get together and try and love one another right now, right? Lean on me. Imagine. We will rock you. And let it be. Music helps teens make the transition to adulthood. And so too in our Torah portion. Shabbat Shirah, the song of the sea that we hear Moses recite, provides the same kind of experience. It's kind of a cross between Say You Want a Revolution and Stairway to Heaven, right? And it becomes the Jewish theme for the experience of liberation. And so it is even to this day, even tonight, we sang a little snippet of it. We sing Mi Chamocha. Right in the dead of winter now, we've reached the Torah portion where the entire poem exists. And so we are called upon to recite from the Torah the singing voices of liberation, the voices of our ancestors who experienced liberation on the shores of the sea. After generations of sadness and generations of betrayal and oppression, of what seemed like a certain death of the Spirit. At the shores of the sea, the Israelites suddenly broke forth into song and renewed their spiritual quest for meaning and significance. Now, as a liberated people, Shabbat Shirah, this Shabbat, is one of the only Shabbatot, the only Sabbaths that has a specific name. And our Torah portion, Parshat B'Shalach, it is the Shirah, the song in the middle of it, that gets top billing because the rabbis recognized that singing is the most liberating of all activities. Song is the medium that uplifts the soul from the mundane to the holy. Just imagine when Bohemian Rhapsody comes on the radio in the car and you just got to sing along with it. That's what we're talking about. Some clever Jew once said that he who sings prays twice, and it's true. Those who sing this song, the Mi Chamocha, do effectively sing it twice. First, to express a yearning to be free, Mi Chamocha, and then a second time to celebrate the freedom that they have attained. Mi Chamocha Nehedar B'Kodesh. That's why we always sing a few verses of Song of the Sea each and every time we pray. We remember our ancestors who yearned to be free, and we celebrate their liberation and ours. We are reminded that Jewish prayers consist mostly not of supplication or petition or requests from God, but of hymns and of praises. I think the Hasidim knew that when they coined the practice of the nigunim, of the wordless melody. And of course, I think the great composers of our tradition were well aware of the majesty. And that's why we probably have a dozen different tunes to sing Mi Chamocha to. When singing Mi Chamocha, every Jew should ask himself or herself this question: am I a member of that chorus of Israelites who passed through the sea? Can I sing a song of freedom based on my own life's experiences and accomplishments? What melody courses through my body as I undertake my life's journey and learn from my own people's dramatic history? No song has greater meaning and significance to us as Jews than this one, and no experience is a greater gift than the liberation, whether it be a liberation of a body from slavery or a liberation of the spirit from a burden. So to quote one of my two favorite bands in high school, the truth of the matter is, for 3,000 years, the song has remained the same. We reiterate the journey of our ancestors. We go from childishness to adulthood. We go from dependence to freedom. We go towards responsibility and making a better world for ourselves and for all the people we touch. So let's conclude with those words that frame our Torah portion, the first 3 words and the last 3 words. Someone pointed out that if you throw out the names of the oppressors, if you throw out the word Pharaoh at the beginning and you throw out the word Amalekites at the end, and you count the first 2 words and the last 2 words and you bring them together, you get a complete sentence. And that complete sentence is Chayi b'shalach midor v'dor. And so the people were sent on from generation to generation. We are the continuation of that journey. And there is a journey that it must continue until the time of the Messiah. Some Jewish commentators like to say that we are an eternal people. Perhaps it might be more accurate, based on this Torah portion, to say that God intends us to be the ever-growing people. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. All right, and so for our announcements, we call upon our beloved president. I will mask up here and step away.
Shabbat Shalom. I'm just going to make a couple of comments because that's what I get to do when I get the mic. I think some clever Jew had like too much time on their hand to count all those things. Secondarily, going back to high school, some of us have to go back further than others. My favorite band is Journey. So I'll just throw out that adage of don't stop believing.
Don't stop believing.
because that just kind of falls into this whole thing. If my husband were up here, he would say it was Rush, but I don't know a clever line that would tie into the Torah portion from Rush. And yes, we did date in high school and all that stuff. So I can fill out Connie's thing tonight when I get home.
Hold on to that feeling.
Yes, yes, I will. So just a few announcements tonight. Excuse me. Green Family Camp is starting to offer some in-person family tours down in Bruceville for new and prospective families that would like to learn a little bit more about Green Family Camp. Members of their full-time team are going to lead tours for individual families, and they're definitely adhering to safety procedures and protocols for everyone. Information about the tours and all related materials can be found where? Oh, y'all can't. There you go, on the CKA website. If I say it once, I say it every Friday. Also, second session of our Adult Hebrew is starting Tuesday, February 2nd. And every Tuesday at 7 via Zoom. They have 12 classes and they're going to run through April 20th. There's no fee for this class. You do have to purchase your own book though. Molly's going to work you through all the different pieces. All she asks is that you can read Hebrew at least minimally. And this is a follow-up to her session of adult Hebrew that was a class which Aleph isn't tough. Once again, please check our website. And I don't have any additional announcements tonight. So we do want to wish everybody who is in need of healing a Misha Bayrock. So as I go around the room, if people have name they would like to add to just our congregation list, or if you have it on chat, please go ahead and put it in. But as I look across the room, does anyone have names?
Julia Martinez.
Thank you.
Maxine Collins, Jim Clark, Mike Nelson, Tom Holiday, Dana Hall, Howard Hall, and Shirley Yeager.
Thank you. Thank you. Melissa Toon.
The neighbor of the Nerias, Lois and Dory Reeves, Sarah Moore, and Susie Jacuz.
Thank you. We'd also like to wish Harry Anthony, Natalie Bovino, Karen Bucksbaum, David Chapman, Ken Chisholm, Quala Chisholm, Maxine Collins, Dave Cook, Pat Ducar, Gordon Ellison, Tammy Ferris, Debbie Freed, Pat Gray, Michelle Griffith, James Hart, Ken Hirschman, Jody Hoffman, Deb Kaufman, Lauren Koenig, Alex Koenig, Sandy Lenzner, Luis Lopez, Karen Moore, Kanakole, maybe, and if I apologize if that's incorrect, Judy Morasic, Herbert Paley, Adrian Sandler, Myra Schusler, Asher Thompson, Owen Torres, and Lillian Wolf. If you'll join me for Misha Bayrock, you can find it on page 49 or 79.
40. Yep.
Or 79.
79.
Misha Bayrock Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Bayroch Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with Refuah Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Thank you, Madam President. All right, before we go on to the Aleinu and to close out our service, I want to just share a little thought with you, and that is that even when it seems like nothing new is happening and nothing is changing, momentous things happen, and that was the case this week. for the first time, our Chevra Kadisha, our Sacred Burial Society, a traditional Jewish community of volunteers who help with the burial of their fellow Jews. We did our first Tahara, our first preparation. We did this, it was our honor to do this for our past president, Mel Gross. And it was an extraordinary experience and the first, no doubt, of many. The person in the room who was there with me working on that was Greg. He stepped up as part of the Hebra Kadisha to do this difficult but amazing process. And so I want to invite him up to come on up here for the Aleinu on page 82. Page 82, ladies and gentlemen. Please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teinu l'yotzer b'reshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam. V'anachnu korim u'mishtacharim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu noten shamayim v'yosed haaretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al u'shkinatu zo Elohim Elohim, Eloheinu Enoch, Emet Malkeinu Efes Ulato, Karkatu B'Torato, Yedata Hayom, V'Hashevota Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim, B'shamayim mima'al, ve'al ha'aretz, nita kapla. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad. Ushamo echad. Our lives, O God, are in your hands. In you we trust. And whatever may be our destiny, we know that you will be there. And though we may never fathom the mysteries of life and death, we know of your gift of life, which each of us treasures. So no matter what the final end, let us rejoice in the sweetness of the past and our faith in the world to come. There we will find you, your love, and your blessing. And so it is now that we recall with love and gratitude all those individuals whom we have lost, whether it be recently or those whose anniversaries of death occur this week. We begin, we have no one submitted to us for Shiva. Is there anyone in the room or anyone online who's lost a loved one last week?
Leroy Reeves.
Thank you. For Shloshim, we continue to mourn with Betty and Jeff and Aaron and Heike for Dr. Mel Gross, past president of this congregation. Anybody online for Shloshim?
No.
Harold. Thank you. And this week, we want to recall the yard sites of these people connected to our community: Dora Bornstein, Helen Caspin, Arthur J. Cohen, Cynthia Efrate, Melba Helms, Ruth Mintz, Charles Moore, William Burl Red Nichols, Jules Reddish, Shirley Sarlin. Is there anyone else observing a yard site, an anniversary of death for a loved one? It is our prayer that the memory of these people grow sweet for those who mourn for them as the years pass, and we join in sympathy with their mourning by turning to page 85 and rising together to recite Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol Beit Israel, bagalal bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'richu le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah mim shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mroma hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. And let us say, amen. Please be seated. So, the original plan, when we were going to have Lindsay online, I was going to have her sing Here Comes the Sun, because that just seems like a lovely Beatlesque choice. We don't have Lindsay, and you don't want to hear me trying to be George Harrison. So instead, I'm going to send us to page 32, and we're going to return again to the Jewish Here Comes the Sun, Micha Mocha. And we'll do it in a slightly different mode than we did the first time in its Hasidic tradition. So we're going to go with the familiar Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osei fele, Nora tehilot osei fele, Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, Bokeach yam lifnei Moshe, Ze li anu v'yamru, Adonai imlo, Adonai imlo, le'olam va'ed. Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, awesome in praise, doing wonders? When your children saw your might on the shores of the sea. This is my God, they proclaimed. Adonai shall reign forever and ever. And now it's time for us to close out our service with Kiddush and motzi for bread. And so I'll be right back. And I believe, for those who want to follow along, if you go to page, I want to say 86, page 86, you can find the text for the Kiddush, the sanctification of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lamikra kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'chata ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon Hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat L'chaim. And now we have our Casey-made challah, lovely, brought through many trials to us tonight. And so this is a particular gift of love to us. So let's join together and say the blessings for bread. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everybody, and I hope you all have a lovely